Morning, Dad.
Hey, going for a run?
Yeah, you should join me like you used to.
Not with my old knees and back.
Try Xanthicin. It could really help. Plus, it's super safe, Dad, and it's good for your heart and brain.
Xanthicin fights aging with astaxanthin, nature's most powerful antioxidant. And with 3 times the absorption and superior purity, it's the brand physicians trust. Find it at getxantho.com and these retailers. Keep doing what you love with Xanthicin.
All right, how's it going, everybody? It is episode 32 here on Hawaiʻi Football Now, presented by our good friends over at Xanthicin. A big mahalo as well to our other sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaiʻi USA FCU. Jordan, Helle, Hunter Hughes back with you. We record this Thursday morning, 7 a.m., releasing a little bit later today, cutting it a little closer. We had some scheduling, just logistical things that pushed us back to Thursday. No big deal. Didn't quite make it out to spring practice today, but we do have some insight from over the weekend as the University of Hawaiʻi football team is rolling through their spring session, and it always kind of goes by quicker, I think, than people anticipate. I'm sure for the coaching staff, it goes by too quickly, right? You got a million and one things to work on, but a lot of positives coming out of the practices down there on campus, basically 3 days a week. Again, Jordan and Hunter with you. It is opening drive time, our first episode of April. Kind of hard to believe it is already episode 32. It is a big Thursday, absolutely big Thursday. You got practice down at lower campus this morning. You got opening day of Major League Baseball, which was pushed back a week because of all the labor disputes. So you got that going. Hunter was up at like 4:30 this morning, ready to watch Tiger Woods tee off at the Masters. And as of now, things are going not bad for Tiger. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're not trying to, oversell it or anything, but he looks good. So we've been up for a while. I had a flight to catch earlier this morning. Hunter was watching Tiger. I was watching Tiger on my phone at the airport. That's occupied a lot of our bandwidth. So it's a big Thursday, and not to be overshadowed by anything. I mean, you got episode 32 dropping here in a few hours.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a great day for sports just in general. Masters Week is something that I look forward to all year, and we're also playing football, Jordan. It's a great time to be alive, and I'm excited. As of right now, at the time of recording, Tiger is 1 under par on number 8, and just silencing all of the haters put golf aside from a sports cultural relevance perspective. The fact that Tiger has battled back time after time after time again, it's good for the world. It's good for people. Even if you're not really a golf fan, just do a little bit of research on what this guy has gone into, and it is truly inspiring. It's a joy to wake up and watch him, just because he thought he was going to lose his leg last year around this time. Yeah, he had a brutal car accident, and I know we're going to get back to talking football here in a second, but it's so worth mentioning for the sheer significance and impact that him competing again at the Masters is to the sporting world.
Yeah, I'm with you. There is no buzz quite like Tiger buzz, and especially at this point in his career. You never know when the last hurrah is going to be, right? Whether it was 3 years ago when he won the thing, whether, now he's coming back off of this horrific car crash. Like it's insane. Like his story and arc that has just been this
so dramatic.
Absolutely. Right. It has been an epic in a tale. And we can talk a little more Masters at the back end when we get to the overtime segment. But just wanted to mention that, we record this kind of early in the morning. That's usually our typical, but it feels a lot later for us because we've been up a little earlier than normal on recording day, which is always kind of fun. And I think we're a little fired up, so it should be a lot of fun. Speaking of fired up, the practices have been pretty lively down at lower campus. Last week, Saturday in particular, you had your first full padded practice for the University of Hawaiʻi. So that always brings out a little more juice, right? Guys are flying around, a little more contact. Some guys like it. You find out which guys maybe don't like it as much. But that's the nature of the game, right? And I know you got a chance to check out some of that last week Saturday as they roll through it, right? A little bit of a scrimmage like feel to portions of practice. Of course, you got the big Island Day spring game and festivities, carnival. Like, I don't know exactly what to term it, but it is much more than just the spring game next week, Saturday, the 16th. Wanted to remind everybody about that. I believe gates open around 3:30 and everything's completely free. It is like geared to a family atmosphere, and definitely want to encourage everybody to go check that out if you're able to make it down again next week, Saturday, the 16th. But Hunter, what have you been seeing in your opportunities to kind of go check things out? I know you've been in and out and been down there as much as you can. Even if we didn't have this podcast, I think you would be down there as much as you can, just taking it all in, right? So, but what have what are some of the things that have stood out to you now after being down there a few times and seeing some of the progression?
Yeah, right off the bat, it just feels like we're kind of getting back to normalcy, both with, some lightening of COVID restrictions, getting back to normal there. We've got a coaching staff that has Hawaiʻi ties, getting back to normal there. Having alumni down there around the field, some that I've played with, some even that predate my time at University of Hawaii, part of the alumni family environment, ohana, that you get with UH football, getting back to normal there. It's just kind of a getting back to normal feeling, Jordan. And in that, on the same kind of wavelength, Saturday was the first day that they had full padded practice and kind of got into some more game-like scrimmage environments where the guys are hitting. I mean, they're banging heads, pads are getting smacked, and that has the most implications when you talk about the running game. You've got defensive linemen getting blocked by offensive linemen. You've got linebackers filling holes, wide receivers getting challenged both by DBs and safeties. It's a truer tell of what our team is going to look like in a full padded, not so much thud tempo, which we talked about in the last podcast, but more of a hit wrap up, and then whistles are blowing. All right, get off of each other. Because at this point during spring season, you've seen the guys day in and day out for weeks on end. You're ready to hit somebody. And it's kind of that, all right, let's see what we have here kind of a situation.
Yeah, it's a little more popping going on, right? You hear it. I think you feel it.
It's actually football.
Yeah, right. I think that's a good way to put it, right? It is a much more accurate tell of how things are going to turn out, right? And you got to ease into it. Don't get me wrong. That's the smart way to go about it. But in some of those select days where you're going to see a little bit more of that physicality, you can see, okay, what some of the things you work on against air, you work on, right, when you're tagging off, like, does it look the same when there's a little more contact involved that you got to negotiate your way through? And that's always a good assessment, I think, for the coaches as well, right? You start finding out about a lot of guys, what sort of their makeup is, right? The natural inclination as to, okay, who are you going to start counting on and whatnot. And I think the good thing is, right, I mean, it's Hawaii football, like, no matter what iteration, like, you got a lot of dudes out there who like contact.
Yes.
And are more than excited for the days when you get unleashed a little bit, the restraints get taken off. And so that's pretty fun. And especially sort of on that note, right? And you would think, all right, that's probably the defense as much as anything, right? And I don't know if it's too surprising, but I think just observing it really does seem like that unit is a little further ahead. Maybe is that fair to say? Just when you look at it from a positional standpoint, we talked up the linebacking core. I think that very much is evident. Like they are a group that this team is going to rely on, and it's a brand new offense, right? It's a brand new offense on the other side of the football. You're working in a new system, brand new coaching staff. I know you got some experience back with Braden Shager, at least at quarterback. You got some experience with Dedrick Parson in the backfield, but it's a lot of changing parts out there. I know you got a new defensive coordinator in Jacob Yoro, but there is continuity, at least, a little bit more on that side of the ball with he and Abe Elamimian. So just hold over with personnel, right? And so I don't know if it's cause for concern or anything like that, but it does seem like the defensive side of the football maybe a little ahead in early on here in spring in sort of the developmental phase.
Yeah, I would agree. And, just as you mentioned, as they're kind of developing scheme both on offense and defense, uh, defense at the Division I level is just going to be a little bit different, where you don't necessarily need a drawn up scheme for guys to be able to stop the football, make plays on passes. I would say it's a little bit easier for a new set of players, coaches to do well on the defensive side quickly than the offensive side, because the offense is so drawn up. You need guys to be on the same page. You need chemistry. You need flow on all facets on the offensive side, from getting things blocked properly, for running backs to know their assignment, for QBs to not only make their correct reads, but then make the right throws, and then wide receivers to be in the same sort of flow too. There's so many moving pieces on the offensive side of the football as compared to defense, that I would say that you can kind of just put Division I athletes on that side, tell them their job, and then let them play football, if that makes sense. And that might be too much of a generalization, but that's kind of my feel, where you can kind of mix and match guys, and they can, in a sense, at least appear like they're ready to go right now in the whole process, a little bit quicker than the offense that still requires so much work on the back end.
Yeah, and from your experience, right? I can't imagine that stuff just happens overnight, right? Like on the offensive side, where you're talking about timing, especially an offense that's going to spread things out, that's going to throw the football, that's going to look to be diverse. Like there's really no substitute for reps, right? Like and the time getting put in, and they've only had so much time up to this point.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely everything. And especially when you're incorporating run and shoot route schemes, all of that is reliant on chemistry, trusting that your guys are going to make the right reads. But before we even get there, we need to make sure that we've got a starter in mind too. All of that is being decided as we speak right now. I got a chance to watch the QBs get their reps this Saturday, and though that they gave the majority of the reps to Cam Cooper, and then a little bit also with Shager, and then you got Armani Eden in there. It's still kind of an open race, man. If I can be quite honest, it kind of looks sloppy in my opinion, just from quarterback play, wide receivers dropping sure-handed passes. Like, come on, guys. And that's kind of just going to be where we're at in the spring right now, which is where we're at. Is you're going to see that kind of stuff happening, where guys are kind of snoozing. Okay, yeah, we got another practice. It's tough to get locked in and day out, because the schedule is so repetitive. It's difficult to have that sort of freshness every single time you go out there. And so you're going to have lulls. And I kind of felt like the offense was lulling this past Saturday, if you will, where the defense, and they said it all over their social media, that defense won the scrimmage. They have sort of a point system where they give different things to the defense for knocking a ball down, turnovers, stops on third down, things of that nature. And they kicked the offense's booty on Saturday. So yeah, it was good to be out there though, for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, right, those are some of the growing pains, some of the necessary growing pains, particularly for the offensive side of the football, and a little friendly competition that doesn't hurt, right? That'll force you to rise up and improve for that offense. So it's definitely something we'll keep our eye on as we kind of make it through spring. Obviously, it all starts and stops with the quarterback position, and so that is something that obviously with Hunter's background as well, that we'll be keenly aware of and kind of seeing how that plays out, how that competition plays out, and if it's any clearer by the end of spring practice, right? And that spring game, I think, will tell us a lot as well on the
It
16th.
will.
Who's getting reps, what the ones look like, how many, series each guy gets, and we'll get a much clearer, I think, answer as to what the coaching staff evaluation looks like for this group. So it's going to be fun, but it's still early on, I guess, is kind of the theme and the overarching, you know, kind of underlying thing when it comes to this group, especially on the offensive side of the football. And speaking of the coaching staff, it's been pretty interesting, Hunter, because this group, and you mentioned it, right? Seeing the guys with the Hawaiʻi connection, seeing this coaching staff, kind of making themselves very available to the local media, to just community events, like trying to get out there, right? Trying to build some connections. And obviously it helps that on staff, you've got a lot of guys with experience, either from here, played here, spent time here. There's a lot of that going on. And even the guys who, maybe this is kind of their first extended time in the islands, like they were brought along very specifically, right? By Timmy Chang or others on this staff. And you're getting reports that, the Ha'a could be coming back for this group. You're getting reports, Coach Sheffield talking about how Coach Chang has all the coaches taking like Hawaiian culture classes on campus, like learning about Hawaii, learning about the culture, and just sort of the buy-in, right? And building those ties, both tangibly, and I think, just from a sort of an interpersonal standpoint. What do you make of that? What do you make of this coaching staff sort of being proactive, very much, it seems genuinely, trying to embrace and build on this being Hawaii's football team?
Totally. I think it's fantastic, and I would even say necessary for the tumultuous roller coaster that the program went through in the last little bit, and I would even say everything we went through in the last couple of years. Now, I have to acknowledge the fact that COVID was probably the biggest proponent in everything that we went through, because coaching staff this, coaching staff that, there were so many things that were outside of that coaching staff's control that you just have to acknowledge. However, when you get 10 to 11 of our starting 22 entering the transfer portal, and the majority of those guys, if not being from Hawaii, having serious Polynesian connections, you start to scratch your head, like maybe we weren't doing the best job as a coaching staff, as a program, honoring what it is to be University of Hawaii football. There's definitely a sense of ownership that needs to be taken, and it seems like this new coaching staff is doing that. Again, like so many of these coaches if they haven't coached here, they've played here, or they have deep ties to this place, like someone like Jared Usua, who didn't play or coach here, but of course his brother is one of the greatest receivers in UH history. And so there's an understanding and sort of an education that needs to be understood to coach well here, and to steward that sort of spirit and aloha that goes into being a UH football player. So I love that they're taking the time to do something like that, and I just hope it translates to winning, because I think they're doing everything that they need to. From my observation, it sure feels like home whenever you're down there. But again, it needs to translate to wins. That's really the only thing that is yet to be determined.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? All of this feels good. All of this, I think, is necessary, but it's got to translate, right? No doubt about it. And yeah, it's to echo what you were saying, right? And this isn't necessarily an indictment of the previous coaching staff or Todd Graham or anything like that, because some of the things that this coaching staff has been able to do just weren't allowed, due to COVID restrictions.
Totally.
It's not to say that, you know, some of the action plan put into place after last season, while Todd Graham was still the head coach, couldn't have led to some of these things, right? They had planned to kind of increase some of the cultural education of the coaching staff and things like that. And so maybe it would have ultimately gotten to a good place, but it does, a lot of the things that you heard, you know, as points of criticism, this coaching staff seems to be checking those boxes, right? They seem to be, and I don't know if that is a clear-cut directive from the top at the university, or that's sort of just what would have happened even if the last coaching regime, you know, ended, you know, cordially and on good terms or something like that. Maybe
Totally.
this would have been the way it goes anyway, right? But that, I think, is the luxury of hiring an alum, hiring a guy from here. But they really do seem to be being proactive when it comes to some of the things that you know were brought up after last season as to what needs to take place within this program, and how, whatever the impetus is, I think it's good to see. I think
Totally.
it's good to see, and you know, these guys seem to be embracing it. You know, Coach Sheffield, I think, is sort of the poster child for it, right? As a guy who not really from here, doesn't have a ton of ties, but my man, who just brings the energy, for one, and is sort of your typical special teams or like a weight coach who's just, you know, for lack of a better term, insane when it
Yeah.
comes to endless energy. But you need those guys, right? And but he is like diving headfirst, you know, off you know, the top rock or something, and he is embraced it, and he is loving it, and he is bought in, man. And you can hear it in some of you know, his comments to the media. You can see it on the practice field, like you can it is infectious. And you know, whether it was going to take place in year 3 of Todd Graham or year 1 under Timmy Chang, like it is positive that it is taking place at all. And I
Totally.
think that's a good thing. And so with the right, when you played, you guys did some stuff. You know, you're probably going to have to refresh my memory as to exactly, you know, whether it was haka, it was ha'a. But you know, I know you got some experience with that, right?
Yeah, no. When I first made the team under Norm Chow, we did somewhat of a traditional haka, and you know, then into Chow's last year, he actually took that out of our pregame ritual. He believed that our guys would spike energy whenever they would do it, and then the 10 minutes or so before kickoff, it would dwindle. And so it kind of interesting there, where it's not so much doesn't believe in the cultural significance of it or the importance, but more like the stewarding of energies and athletic resources of your team to be able to put your best foot forward to be able to win. Some of the guys would put way too much energy there and wouldn't come out ready to go. And so, yeah, we went a year without the haka, and then Rolo came in and actually brought in a kahu to kind of rewrite a Hawaiian ha'a, not haka, but a ha'a. So much more relevant to Hawaii. One that was specifically written about UH and Manoa and fighting for our land, our people, and it being really significant to our team, our island, and the community at large. And with that, there was a lot of education for, you know, I speak for all the Howley boys on the team. I tried to stand as far back in the haka as possible, or the ha'a as much as possible. Just let the island guys get out there in front. It's they embody that a little bit more than I do, and I understand that. But it was so good because, you know, that education and understanding element was really taken seriously, and there was a lot of intentionality. That's the word, a lot of intentionality from the coaching staff, the program in general, so that we would do that properly. We didn't want to do it half booty, if you will. Wanted to do it properly. So I'm stoked that there could be a return of the ha'a, because we've definitely missed that the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think all of that is really significant, right? And so much it's so much deeper, right? It isn't some choreographed routine of gibberish or something like that, right? And there are distinctions, right, between different Polynesian peoples, right? And Hawaii is very much, I think it is branded itself as sort of, the University of the Pacific, the football team of the American football team of Polynesia, and that goes all the way down to New Zealand, right? And the haka and where it originates from down there in Aotearoa. But, it tells a different story, right? And it's when you're talking about the significance of Manoa, right? You're talking about the significance of certain areas and the story that comes with it, and having something a little more appropriate, right? Something a little more relevant, catered, right? Tailored towards,
Yeah.
Hawaii, where specifically, right? These different areas you come from, these different moku, like it all is extremely relevant. Everything that goes into it, right? As you pointed, intentional. And that means a lot. That means a lot. And it's something, it's unique. Like this isn't something done by like every school across the country, right? This isn't a competition of sorts. It's different than that. It's deeper. And I'm with you.
Bring up a good point, Jordan. Like in terms of pregame rituals, like they always rank, the top whatever pregame for teams. Like Hawaii's always in the top 10. Just for like, I'm more speaking from a mainland perspective because that's where I come from. They think it's the coolest thing ever. They don't understand it at all. They try to, but it's so stinking unique compared to everybody else, and we're the only school that does it. And it's not inauthentic. BYU has done it in the past. Arizona has done it in the past too. It's like, okay, but you're not really like, you might have some Polynesians on the team, but it's not who your school is. That's who we are, like through and through. And so from a broader, education importance, I almost think it's necessary to have it there. It has so many implications outside of just our team.
Yeah, big time, no doubt about it. We'll see what it looks like. We'll see once some of those things start coming out to the public, what that could look like for this group. Running up against the halftime break here. But we did want to, of course, remind you of our good friends over at Xanthicin, because I don't know about you, Hunter, but if you're looking to improve your joint and muscle function, your cholesterol health, yep, check for me as well. Cognitive function, I think most people know I need help with that. Anti-aging, like you got to get astaxanthin, right? You can get it at xantho.com. Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth Kaka'ako, GNC stores, Pharmacare Hawaii, all the information you need at getxantho.com. And, Hunter's in much better shape than I am. He's out there golfing, and shooting low scores and keeping active. But, we could all use a little boost every once in a while. I don't think it hurts, right?
No, and it's funny you bring that up. I actually tried astaxanthin for the first time. This is
there we go.
This is an unpaid plug right here. Let me just mention that I did feel a little perk while I was on the course, I would say. I don't know if it was humongous, but I just felt ready to go, a little bit sharper over putts. Things where I needed to recall some of that tiger focus that we were talking about earlier. It was worth mentioning, and so here I am mentioning it, Jordan.
Hey, that's the endorsement right there. And who knows, maybe Tiger should look into it, right? As he goes through, it's a marathon, not a sprint at the Masters.
That's
And
it.
you gotta make sure the blood flow's good, the cognitive function is high, and Tiger is trying to fight father time. So the anti-aging doesn't help. I mean, it doesn't hurt either. And again, be sure to check them out at getzantho.com. All right, second half coming up after this quick break.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second halftime here. Jordan and Hunter back with you. One of the big news notes sort of off the field as we make our way through the spring and make our way through episode 32 here on Hawaii Football Now. It was announced that Andrew Faulio, former Oregon defensive lineman, is set to join the University of Hawaii in June. He telling Stephen Tsai of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser that he has 2 seasons of eligibility remaining. This is a guy who was pretty highly touted. He was a 3-star defensive lineman coming out of Mater Dei, that powerhouse. Played in the 2018 Polynesian Bowl, in fact. Spent some time at Oregon. Currently, Star-Advertiser reporting he's about 6'3", 255 pounds. Was a situational pass rusher in Oregon's dime package back in 2020. His last season in Eugene, didn't play in 2021. He was actually scheduled to transfer to Boise State and follow defensive coordinator Andy Avalos, who went from Oregon to Boise last, or 2 off seasons ago, I guess I should say. But Faulio did not enroll at Boise State. Just a decision he made with his family. And so he remained in the portal basically, and saved on a season of eligibility, and was contacted by Nate Ilawa, who is the director of recruiting for the University of Hawaii, who actually coached in the Polynesian Bowl, established a little bit of a connection. And he is a guy who, at the time, coming out of high school, had offers from multiple Pac-12 schools, some schools in the Mountain West as well, Illinois, out of the Big Ten, Arizona, one of them as well. He was a guy who played some 3 technique, was up at like 285 pounds initially when he got to Oregon, dropped some weight, moved to the outside, wanted to be an edge rusher, cut down about 30 pounds. And so, this is a group looking for an infusion of pass rushing talent. And look, Faulio's a pretty significant guy when it comes to the pedigree at the very least, right? Not super productive at Oregon, but to crack that lineup, that's tough. And so you get a former 3-star guy out of Mater Dei, Polynesian kid who's got experience, has played at the at the Power 5 level. This could be significant for the University of Hawaii.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you get somebody from the Power 5, it's a buzz in the locker room. Anytime you get somebody from big time Power 5, and I would put Oregon in big time category, there's an extra little bit of sprinkling of special when that person's walking around. I can remember when Taylor Graham came to University of Hawaii, and sure, yeah, some might say his career didn't exactly pan out here the way that people had hoped, but coming from Ohio State to University of Hawaii, there's just a different way that these guys go about their business. There's a higher caliber of expectations put on these kind of guys because they're coming from the cream of the crop. And so I am very excited that we were able to land somebody from, the transfer portal from one of these big time schools. Because as we've mentioned on the podcast before, Jordan, that is our strategy. Further verified from Coach Yoro, from Coach Abe Elumimian as well, that is Hawaii's angle of strategy in recruiting. Is we may not necessarily get these guys right off the bat, straight out from high school, but there are going to be guys with different situations, different playing time, circumstances at their schools that they're looking for a change. They're and someone like this might be just wanting somewhere closer and feeling like home to them. So I mean, this is a huge win, Jordan. I hope it's just the first of many. And I think Coach Nady Lau is almost single-handedly potentially responsible for something like this. So I'm elated that we were able to land this guy.
It's big, right? I mean, you think of everybody that University of Hawaii lost on the defensive line, right? Jonah Laulu to Oklahoma, Justice Tavai ends up at San Diego State. Darius Muasau, right, who provided a bit of that pass rush. Corey Bethley was a big part of the pass rush, and I know those guys play different positions, but you got to find a way to pressure the quarterback. That's the name of the game. There's no DeJuan Matthew, there's no O.J. Baker, some of these guys who played significant snaps last year, and so getting Faulio is big. I'm with you on that, and then the significance, right, of some of these pre-existing relationships, like Nate having spent time at the Polynesian Bowl for a number of years and building up some of these contacts and a guy who's coached at the high school level, has coached in some of these all-star games, who has built up a network like that really is extremely valuable. And we're seeing some of that pay off here, as you pointed out.
Totally. And, if we just dive into the position for a second, I made mention, I don't know, on the podcast, maybe just in other conversations with folks, that the position group that I was most worried about was D-line, losing Laolu, losing Tavai, and just being down there at practice. Like, I got love for the guys. It's just, we looked thin at that spot. And at the Division I level, if you can't stop the run, they're gonna run through you like paper. No need to put the ball in the air when running the ball will suffice. And that was definitely our concern the first year of the Graham era. And then they kind of tightened the screws this last year with the phenomenal defensive output that we were able to produce. And so in kind of constructing this new Timmy Chang era team, the D-line, aside from maybe some of the more specialty spots on the offense, I would say D-line was our top priority. And I'm thankful that we were able to land one of these guys, because then you get someone like Panay Pavi'i that allows him to be a little more freelancy on the defensive side, where he can come down on the edge or can drop back into more of a coverage sort of style. He's kind of that hybrid will linebacker. And so it just allows for more versatility and strength on that defensive front. So I'm stoked, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is big, and just being able to create those avenues, right, to get these guys in the program, to have them involved, to get the pedigree of guy. And to your point earlier, when you were talking about, some of the coaches that we've talked to on this podcast, the other aspect of it is, it is an ongoing cycle. Like, there is no recruiting window anymore. It is a 365-day process, and you're bringing guys in well after signing day. You're bringing guys in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. Like, with the portal in existence, it is, guys could pop out of that portal at any moment, and you can fill needs. And edge rusher, that was a big need for the University of Hawaii. So I'm hoping things work out with Faulio, for him personally, finding a home here to finish out his career, and then for the University of Hawaii, hopefully getting a really productive player for this group. So again, that's something we'll keep our eye on. Again, he won't be here until the summer, so it's not like we'll see him at spring practice or anything like that. But as Hunter pointed out, that has been another unit of conversation, the defensive line, in trying to find ways to make sure that is a viable group when it comes to the rigors, right? And that's sort of been the ongoing reality for the University of Hawaii. Little undersized, little undermanned over the years in recent memory, and they found a way to varying degrees of success. So we'll see how it all goes as we kind of transition toward the end of the pod here on this episode 32. Again, want to remind everybody, April 16th, be sure to mark the calendars. I'm sure a lot of the fans have already made plans to head down there for the Island Day spring game festivities. Check it out. Yeah, that's what they're they're touting, right? Like it's supposed to be a big time party. And it's going to be interesting to see, because for the players, right, it's not like they get to participate in the party. Like they're the ones that are going to have to focus up. They're the ones that are going to have to get done. But I think that's what they're trying to create on campus for a game day experience. Like I think, we'll see maybe some hints as to what the university has planned for the fall, like what the on-campus game day experience will be like. This is a nice sort of trial run for the powers that be at the university, right? I would think, because they haven't had that. They didn't have that chance last year because of all the COVID restrictions, and so this might be a little telltale for what the fall could look like, and hopefully excite some people, to come out to those games, buy some season tickets and the like.
Yeah, I got to have a pretty cool conversation with one of the very high ups at University of Hawaii on the financial side, and got to hear some of their hopes and plans for a game day environment down on campus. And a coaching staff like Coach Timmy Chang's, has a little bit more imagination, understanding of what it's like to live on that campus, what they would like to see as former players, not necessarily as coaches. And I think we could have a very, very special game day environment where we open things up on upper campus, McCarthy Mall, Campus Center. We pour in more of the resources to University of Hawaii instead of losing all of that to Aloha Stadium. It could be a very unique and honestly recruiting dream if we kept things on campus. And I think the 16th, we're going to get a little bit of a feel for what that could look like. And so, yeah, Jordan, I'm stoked.
And wouldn't be surprised to see some potential recruits on campus taking that all in as well on the 16th. So it should be a fun atmosphere. I'm looking forward to it. I think a lot of fans are as well, but just wanted to remind everybody about that. And again, free, I can't beat that for a great Saturday down there checking out the University of Hawaii football team. All right, time for our overtime segment as we close things out here on episode 32 of HFN. I know Hunter's been locked in on the Masters. I just wanted to mention, the Masters dinner, right? The champions dinner on Tuesday of the week, Masters week. The previous year's champion gets to pick the menu. It's exclusive as it gets, right? It's like it's only for the winners. It's only for dudes with green jackets, like one of the more exclusive clubs. And it's always the kind of the talk of the town, whether for good or bad reasons, right? Sometimes it's a little like, all right, look, you had the chance to. But Hideki Matsuyama, who won it last year, right? First ever Japanese man to win the Masters. Did you see his menu? Because this,
unbelievable.
I mean, the players couldn't stop talking about it, right? He had for the first course, he had assorted sushi, he had sashimi, he had nigiri, he had yakitori chicken skewers. That'd be a good meal in itself. Then he had like miso butterfish. He had miso glazed black cod in a dashi broth as the second course. The third course, some Miyazaki Wagyu. Just some A5 Wagyu ribeye with mixed mushrooms and vegetables, some sancho daikon ponzu. Come on. And then for the fourth course, just a nice little Japanese strawberry shortcake and a fluffy sponge cake. Like, come on, Hideki. I mean, guys are probably rooting for him. If they're not going to win, like they probably hope Hideki's winning again just so they can go back to one of his dinners. Yeah, this got to be like an all-timer. So tip of the cap to you, Matsuyama. And if Hunter Hughes ever wins the Masters and gets to host one of these things, like what's on your menu? What are you throwing on the, calling for from the kitchen if you had the chance here?
Jordan, you on the spot. I actually play that hypothetical in my mind every year that the Masters comes on. Is like, what would I do? Because it's kind of a challenge because you've got old time guys in there like Jack Nicklaus or Gary Player. Oh yeah, they're in their 80s. So where you might want to be creative and individualistic with the menu choices, you have to consider if those guys are going to like what you are putting in front. And so you kind of take the place of I'm going to eat what I want, or I'm going to kind of cater to everybody. And so it was pretty cool to see that something so purely Japanese was loved and cherished by some of these, some might say conservative old timers. But what's not to love about Wagyu?
I mean, yeah. I mean, butterfish, right? Who doesn't love butterfish? If you're trying to watch, some of the red meat, perhaps, then, you put a little fish on there.
Yeah. I mean, quite honestly, I might take a page out of Hideki's book and claim every bit of Hawaii culture with a little bit of Asian cuisine in there that quite possibly could. Maybe a vanilla milkshake in there as well, just to change it up a little bit.
I like that. Yeah.
But it's one of the coolest things ever. And then I have to mention this, that Jack Nicklaus tweeted that not only was it one of the best dinners, but Hideki Matsuyama, who doesn't speak a lick of English, rehearsed a 3-minute long speech in English without notes at that dinner, which to me just speaks to the kind of person that this guy is. By the way, last year after he won, there were many pictures of him flying coach the next day with the green jacket draped over his leg, where the guy's just so humble. Could not be happier for him and the significance in Japan. I have friends that have played football over there, and they tell me Hideki is literally like a god over there in Japan. So super stoked for him. And I just hope he's putting the green jacket on Tiger this weekend. That's all I got to say. So,
oh man, that would, the internet would break, I think, if Tiger's in contention on Sunday. So far so good. I think he's through 10 here today. This won't be, I would think, any spoiler alerts, because we're not posting this, in real time. So yeah, so far so good, I think, for Tiger. If it's not Tiger, who do you got winning the whole thing?
I think Justin Thomas is a sneaky pick, and then you can't ever count Spieth out at Augusta. He's one of the best putters on tour, and he just has a love affection that would rival mine with Augusta National, and he's always a good pick. My dad always says there's horses for races, and I think he's a great horse for this tournament.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. I got my eye on the Spaniard. Keep an eye on John Rahm.
Ooh,
we'll see how the burly Spaniard does in this tournament. We'll reevaluate how terrible my pick was come next week. So should be fun. Another fun Saturday that I think should draw a good crowd once again to spring practice, as the group is a little over a week from the Big Island Day spring game. Always fun, Hunter, catching up. Let us know if you get any more astaxanthin from the good folks there, and we can give you a few more product reviews as we go through. And a big mahalo once again to Xanthicin, Spectrum Mobile, and Hawaii USA FCU. This has been episode 32 here on Hawaii Football Now. Jordan Hunter saying, see you next time. Aloha, everybody.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helle and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.